Today on the Business Owners Corner, we're going to talk about my four favorite high yield savings accounts. And the reason that we're talking about this right now is interest rates today are a lot higher than they have been over the last couple years. And there are a whole lot of people out there who have bank accounts at Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, wherever. Maybe you have a few $1,000s of savings or more than that in a savings account that might only be paying you 0.2%, which is a pittance. A few years ago, that wasn't that big of a deal because interest rates were so low across the board that you weren't getting a decent rate wherever you went. But now interest rates are higher, and some banking institutions are paying a much better rate of interest on savings, whereas the big box banks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Chase, places like that, have not increased rates for savers. Now, a couple rules of thumb here about bank accounts in general. Number one, our ordinary disclosure. This is not advice. You're free to go ahead and take this information and use it in your own life. But don't think that we advised you to go to any particular institution. That being said, everybody needs a little bit of cash around for a rainy day. This is the concept of an emergency fund that can help keep you from having to liquidate investments at an inconvenient time, maybe when the market's down. And the rules for that cash that you have set aside are that it needs to be liquid and available to you at any point. It should be covered by the FDIC, which is important in this environment, and you should get the best rate that you possibly can on it. Now, FDIC coverage is important, and at most banks, I should say the default FDIC coverage amount is $250,000. So if you have, let's say that you have $100,000 in cash and it's sitting at Wells Fargo, it's earning close to 0% right now. The rate of interest that you can get through these high yield savings options we'll go over in just a minute is closer to 4 or 5% per year. Okay? Think about if you can get 5% per year in an FDIC covered insured vehicle for on your cash savings. If you have 100 grand, that's $5,000 per year of just interest income. You didn't have to do anything with it other than open an account. You're not taking any risks. The government is still insuring your deposits. Scrutinizing this can be really beneficial for a lot of people around the country. So what I'm going to do is go in reverse order here and name my four favorite institutions for high yield savings. Now, the reason that high yield accounts exist today is that there are new models of banks. 30 years ago, online banks didn't really exist, right? You have local credit unions, you have regional banks, you have big national and multinational banks, and you walk down the street. You go talk to a teller, you fill out some paperwork there in person, and then you hand over cash or write them a check. And that's how the business model worked. Well, it costs a lot of money to maintain those operating centers, those retail locations. You go to any strip mall in America and there's a Chase or a Bank of America there. That costs them a lot of money. And now that the internet has really taken over the world, banks figured out that we can offer bank accounts without having to pay those brick and mortar operating expenses. So newer companies like Capital One comes to mind. They don't have as many brick and mortar places that you can walk into and talk to a teller face to face. That's the downside. You don't have a local operation to where you can walk in and get done what needs to be done. You have to call their 1-800 number or log into your account online and use their chat bot or something like that. So it's a different level of service. If you're someone who doesn't necessarily need to walk into a physical branch down the road and are comfortable with that, then this could potentially be a good fit for you. And this is why it exists, because these companies, they don't have to pay that expensive rent down at the strip mall to maintain a branch, so they can pass those cost savings on to you in the form of higher rates on your deposits. So I'm going to go in reverse order, like I mentioned. My fourth favorite, number 4 on the list, is Ally Bank, ALLY. Ally has delivered a lot of good service to a lot of our clients over the years. It's easy to open an account. They offer CDs, they offer high yield savings, and they're pretty competitive with the rates. As I sit here, it looks like Ally is offering about 4.25% per year in interest. That's going to go up and down as the market changes. Obviously, it's not locked in for any stretch of time. They could change it, by the time this goes live. Now, the downside, the reason that Ally is marked number 4, is that rate of interest is the lowest of the 4 that we're going to go over, and Ally Bank does not currently offer business accounts. They're only individual accounts. Number 3 on the list is Capital One. Capital One, broad online presence. They have credit cards, they have bank accounts, they have a suite of banking products. They do pretty well for the most part. They do allow business accounts. Currently, it looks like their Capital One, I think they call it the 360 savings. Their high yield option is at 4.35% interest per year, a little bit greater than at Ally. The reason that they're ranked number 3 and not higher is because, well, they're number 3 on the list in terms of interest that they pay, but also uh, in our experience with clients who have had accounts there, as interest rates have gone up, Capital One has been somewhat reluctant to pass those higher interest rates on to existing customers. So, for example, if you've had an account at Capital One for 5 years, and I'm a new customer, and you were getting 1% on your deposits, and now they increased their rate on deposits from 1% to 2%, they might still be giving you 1%, but they might give me as a new customer 2%. And you have to call up and basically complain and force them to increase your deposit rate. And that's not a very good customer experience, in my opinion. So Capital One is number 3. Number 2 is Marcus. Marcus is a company that's owned and organized by Goldman Sachs. It's my understanding that they do offer business accounts. I don't know that we have clients that do have business accounts there, but I think that they do. Not 100% sure, but I like them because they pay 4.4% interest right now, and because the feedback we've had from clients that have accounts there is that it's easy to use, their service is good. I don't think I've heard a single complaint about them. Now, our number 1 on the list is a slightly different option in that it's offered only through basically approved advisory offices. So the downside of this last option is that you have to be invited by a financial advisory office like ours, basically. But it's good because they pay 5% on interest, which is about the best that we've seen right now. The operation is called Flourish. Flourish is a company that's owned by MetLife, and they basically uh, provide larger volumes of deposits to a group of 12 member banks. The member banks kind of sit in the background. You get one statement from Flourish. You don't have to deal with the 12 member banks one by one. And because they're able to deliver a lot more cash all at once, as opposed to small deposits from a retail banking perspective, they can offer a much better interest rate. And they offer way more FDIC insurance because they can split your deposits up in $250,000 increments amongst those member banks. I think they're currently up to $4 million in FDIC insurance. So Flourish has been good. They offer the best rate. The downside to them is you have to be invited through an advisory office like ours. So those are the 4. I generally have good things to say about all 4 of those options. And depending on your own banking needs, an online bank might be a good fit for you. It might not. If you feel the need to get into a physical local branch location, this probably isn't a good fit. But if you're comfortable without that kind of service, any of these 4 work pretty well. And I look pretty hard at shopping the rates. Hope this was helpful, and I'll talk to you all again soon.